Let's talk a little bit about executive orders. Remember how Republicans went nuts on Obama for signing a bunch of them? Well, let's get the facts here. This is from Fortune magazine. They say, Obama signed 276 during his 8 years in office, slightly less than Bush, 291, and Bill Clinton, 364, did in their 2 terms, according to data compiled by the University of California, Santa Barbara. Executive orders were used relatively infrequently until Theodore Roosevelt ushered in a new era of executive action at the beginning of the 19th century, signing more than 1,000 while in office and establishing a template for his successors. Franklin D. Roosevelt, president during the Great Depression and World War II, signed more than 3,700 during his 12-plus years in office. Good googly moogly. 3,700 is like, did you take time to eat? 3,700 is a lot. So FDR was not fucking around with these executive orders. But let me bring up the important fact yet again here. 276 Obama signed during his 8 years in office. So not only is it not a record high, it appears to be more of a record low that Obama signed. George W. Bush even signed more than him. But the Republicans went nuts. They called Obama a dictator, a tyrant, a king. In fact, listen to what Trump said. This is about Obama's executive orders and how against it he was. He said, the country wasn't based on executive orders. Right now, Obama goes around signing executive orders. He can't even get along with the Democrats, and he goes around signing all these executive orders. It's a basic disaster. You can't do it. So he says, the country wasn't based on executive orders, and, quote, you can't do it. That's Donald Trump before he became president. Now that he's president, I think you can guess what's about to happen here. Donald Trump is about to sign a record number of executive orders in his first 100 days. So in his first 100 days, Trump signed 32 executive orders. That's the most of any president in their first 100 days since World War II. So it's Donald Trump who's broken the record for modern presidents. Trump is signing a record number of executive orders. Again, hypocrisy isn't even a strong enough word. Just so you understand the full extent of this hypocrisy, the Republicans, it was over 100 congressional Republicans that sued Obama over his executive orders. John Boehner led them. They brought a lawsuit against Obama over his executive orders. And they said, okay, understand they're not objecting to the substance of the executive orders, which of course they do, but that's not the point of the lawsuit. Was it's not just that we object to the substance, it's that we object in principle to executive orders. We don't agree with executive orders. We don't agree with executive actions. We think they're unconstitutional. We're going to sue you over them. And oh yeah, by the way, when our guy's in office, he's going to break the record and we're not going to say dick about it. Now all of a sudden they're in favor of executive orders. So this is what we mean when we talk about, why people despise politicians and oftentimes despise politics. And they check out of the system and they say, you know what, I'm done here. And it's something you hear often where people go, they're all liars. Every single one of them, every last one of them are liars. Because they look at stories like this and they go, I don't know how these people sleep at night. There's not a shred of consistency among all of them. You're going to, on principle, on supposed principle, say, oh, executive order is terrible, not in favor of them. And when your guy's in office and your guy breaks the record, mum's the word. Like, you can't even just give a little fucking shred of intellectual honesty and consistency and say, you know what, Don, pump your brakes. I'm not digging these executive orders. You want to get something done, do it the right way, go through Congress, do this, do that. No. Nope. Now, again, if they were to just object on the substance of the executive orders, that's a different question. One in which it's not necessarily hypocrisy. It's them saying, yeah, we're fine with executive orders, we just don't agree with the kind Obama's doing. But they don't just say that, they go further. And they say, no, we're against executive orders. I mean, we've shown the fucking clips of the different Republicans talking about, yeah, he's ruling by executive fiat. That's what he's doing. I mean, this is authoritarian. This is like a dictatorship. So, it's just pathetic to see this, man. And, by the way, it indeed is true that usually presidents turn to executive orders when their agenda stalls in Congress. And how sad is that his agenda is stalling? I mean, it's good for the country, don't get me wrong. But it's pathetic. He's ineffectual is my point, because to this point, they haven't even been able to whip together the so-called Freedom Caucus, hilariously named, which are the Tea Partiers and the establishment Republicans, to get together to do certain things. So he's not really getting much through Congress at this point, so he's had to do everything as a unitary executive authority, which again, ideologically, is something that the people on the right say they're opposed to, until their guy gets in there, in which case all bets are off. We've seen this kind of hypocrisy before. Look at the issue of gay marriage. We're against it, we're against it, we're against it, and then you have a few Republican politicians who find out, oh my goodness, my son is gay or my daughter's gay. Dick Cheney did this. And it was like, oh yeah, gay, You know, what was it I said about gay marriage again? I said I was against it. I'm not necessarily against it. I mean, look, it's one of those things where you evolved. Rob Portman, I think, was another one. I'm against gay marriage. Wait, my kid's gay? I'm for gay marriage. It's just so sad. Disaster relief. This is probably the worst example of all of them. When there was not Sandy Hook, Hurricane Sandy, both of them epic disasters, of course, and New York and New Jersey and the East Coast needed FEMA funds. Of course, we just got fucking ravaged by a hurricane. I lost power for over a week in that goddamn thing, and I was inland enough where we didn't get the brunt of it. I mean, fucking Staten Island, parts of Staten Island were wiped off the map. So FEMA funding was absolutely vital. What happened? A bunch of Republicans who are not from the Northeast were like, we're against it. We're not going to do disaster funding, even though you just got hit with a record-breaking hurricane. We're against the funds, we're going to vote against it. Then guess what? As soon as their states had a disaster, whether it be a wildfire or a flood or whatever, they're like, oh, we need FEMA funding. Why isn't everybody lining up and giving us FEMA funding? Hypocrisy 101, man. I can't stand it. When they talk about welfare, yeah, we're against welfare. We don't want to give any handouts. It encourages a culture of moochers and parasites and bottom feeders, and you're going to do the bare minimum to get by. Anyway, can we now pass the corporate welfare bill? I'd love to give corporations welfare. That'd be wonderful. Can we please do that? Hypocrites! Hypocrites, hypocrites, hypocrites! You know, and unfortunately, it's all too common. We're in favor of small government, but I want to bail out Wall Street. Can we bail out Wall Street, please? It never fucking ends. So don't look for ideological consistency, or don't look for a consistent philosophy coming out of these crowds here, because you're simply not going to get it. You're just not going to get it, and it's a shame that our terrible media, corporate media, mainstream media, treats these guys like, honest actors here. They treat them like serious people who are acting on principle when all the evidence is there that they throw the principles out the window the second it's convenient.